Hi there, and thank you for joining us on the Overcomers Overcoming podcast. We feature those who are in the process of overcoming or have overcome any type of life encounter, life obstacle that at the time seemed to be almost insurmountable. With this podcast, we have three objectives in mind. Our first objective is we want you to know with a confident resolve you are not alone. We want to work with you. We want you to know there are others who are working with you, who want to help you through whatever you are encountering, and together we will get through whatever you're experiencing.
Our second objective is there are multiple options for any life encounter you are facing. We want to help you develop a resolve that there are various options and solutions to any life dilemma.
Our third objective is to help you with critical thinking skills. If you're encountering something that was possibly a decision you made sometime in the past, and if you had the opportunity for a life redo, you would make a different decision. We want to help you with those critical thinking skills that can help you make an informed decision and not encounter what you're going through at the moment. We are the Cooper Culture, a veteran-owned business. We work with business personnel and families to develop and sustain connected relationship cultures within their families and organizations. That type organization is one where people feel wanted, appreciated, and genuinely a part of that organization. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty, who has helped me facilitate this podcast. Today we feature Dr. Kristen Williamson for a second episode of Neurospiciness. We are learning from her life experience, and her personally, how we can identify those who are neurodiverse or neurospicy by her term, how to identify a person's strengths, and through those strengths we can help them determine employability and where they are happiest in life. It is our experience that sometimes some people don't understand and choose not to adapt to neurospicy people. And it's in some cases, I think it may be a matter of finding those who are willing to work with and adapt to. But Marty, listeners, I think, can benefit a lot from Dr. Williamson's explanation of how to identify strengths and find a sweet spot, as you and I call it, that point of strengths and employability. What do you think our listeners can take away from Dr. Williamson?
Well, first of all, Dr. Williamson is high spectrum, and so she's lived it. And she is married to one, she has two children. So she speaks from not only knowledge, but living it and how she has worked through helping her children find their sweet spot. I love listening to her because, as I have said, she is and she lives it.
She has high energy, and neurospicy people are employable. Let's listen and work together. Kristen, it is great to have you back with us. For our listeners who may be joining us for the first of what is going to be probably numerous episodes, we have Dr. Kristen Williamson, who is a self-professed neurodiverse person, albeit she describes herself and many others as neurospicy. I love it. And so you, Dr. Kristen, are married to a neurodiverse or neurospicy husband, and you have two neurospicy children. Wow. So you have a lot of life experience with that topic of neurodiversity, neurospiciness. And I am very interested, along with our listeners, of knowing how can we help neurospicy people identify their strengths for future employment and so forth. I have been in the presence of some, maybe you too have experienced, some people think neurospicy people are unemployable. I said, oh, come on, not a chance. Dr. Kristen, God, it is so good to have you back with us. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for having me back. You aren't wrong. We definitely have a spicy household over here. And I've also learned most of my kids' friends are also spicy. We just collect in hordes. And so we're all the goobers hanging out with the goobers. And I think that just makes life more fun.
Hey, life is fun because we choose it to be that way. Dr.
That's
Kristen,
exactly.
yeah, you are, I'm going to believe, at a stage in your married life, family, where you might be right now nurturing, helping your two children identify their strengths. And then when will you be ready to go off to the workforce and so forth? It is my observation and experience some neurospicy people are X number of years behind their chronological age in maturity. I don't mean that as a negative statement. I am merely expressing my observational fact. But if what I said might be true, at least with some people, Doctor, how can we identify, how can we help those neurospicy people find their strengths, help them identify, and boy, this is where we believe you can function best?
That's actually, I love your observation because research has come out and shown that we are chronologically between 7 and 10 years delayed in when our brains develop. Typically, neurotypical humans, their brains develop around 25, 26 years old. We have a solid 7 to 10 years beyond that before our brains fully finish developing. And they say around the time when our mid-30s and above, we are even keeled with one another with the neurotypicals and introvergents and just our maturity levels. But it is, we are about 10 years behind, 7 to 10 years, really depending on gender and your upbringing and different things. So you are spot on. And it's really hard, especially with autism. Autism ranges in levels now, and levels 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is low support needs, and then medium and higher support needs. And support needs are what they need on a day-to-day basis. And so level 1s are typically, we don't need help getting dressed. We don't need help making food. However, we might not always know where to start conversations or where to stop conversations or what to talk about or not talk about. And it's typically socially that awkwardness comes in. Sometimes it can show up in areas of our life where we don't care about brushing our hair nearly as much, or we still have sensory struggles. I don't like wearing makeup because I don't like having anything on my face. It feels tactily different. And so as a female, that was really hard. And I didn't match what the stereotypical female comes across. Oh, well, you must love makeup. Not at all. Why not? I don't like how it feels. And they're like, what? That's weird. Yes.
Let me ask you, are your children maybe purposely or delayed getting a learner's permit? For driving, did you get your learner's permit well after 16 maybe? And uh, how do you help your children as they're observing others who are 16 years? Oh, well, on the one day after 16 years old, you're supposed to have your driver's permit,
Yep.
but you're thinking, well, no, you're not ready for that yet. And so, uh, are you having to go through that?
Thankfully, I'm not. My 15, he'll be 16 soon. He has no want to drive whatsoever. We're not there. So I am not pushing, but also we're having the conversations of it offers a level of freedom, but however, it's a big responsibility. And let's see what his reasons are for not wanting to drive. And it actually turns out, and a lot of people on the autism spectrum, they get really overwhelmed. They get overwhelmed with their eyes are taking in everything. So you're driving, and then the scenery moves really fast, but you have to be very cognitively present and aware. And so driving on highways is really hard. A lot of times they will feel safer driving to the store or back or something that's very routine, and they know where the stoplights are, and they know where all of these things, but it's still really hard to get them to go out and especially this newer generation, because anxiety is very, very prevalent. So coming in and wanting to get out and go drive. And then the parents, or if they're saying, oh, you know what, you're not necessarily hitting that level of responsibility that I trust you behind this giant metal moving mobile. And I would say for every parent or every human who's listening, that they're different. Some people might say, well, I'm mature enough to do this, but I don't want to, or I want to, but parents are saying I'm not mature enough, then we can have that conversation of what would be a level of maturity you would need to see within me before we could get a driver's permit, or before you would trust me behind the car by myself. And looking back at 16, whoo, I can't believe I was able to drive at 16. I look at 16-year-olds now and I'm like, no, that is young to be behind the car. But at 16, I felt fearless.
Yep.
And I know everything.
I just had we just had a weekend with our granddaughter, and she said to me, some of the kids are saying, why don't you have your driver's permit? And I said, well, how did you answer them? And she said, I don't want to, because I'm hearing or seeing on news too many teenagers are being killed. And she said, I don't want to die.
Yeah. I have clients in their 30s and 40s that don't have driver's permits, that don't have driver's licenses.
Wow.
Want to drive, but they have made it to where one of them is gloriously high up in her company. Her company pays for Ubers wherever she goes. They accept that she doesn't drive, and they've just added that into her pay.
Oh my God.
One who lives within a city and can take the city bus.
You have just described a very cooperative, adaptive employer. And my observation, I haven't done the research, but my observation is they are very difficult to find right now, because too many people make assessments of judgments, stigmatize, and all kinds of things. And nope, I'm not going to do it. And now, doctor, I'm very curious, your children and so forth, and your statement that maturity wise, some are 7 to 10 years behind. And so is that something we should remind others of, those who are neurospicy, you are X number of years behind? Could that be a stigma that is a negativity to them? And what I'm trying to build up to is, okay, that's just the way you are. You're not going to be ready you're not going to be ready for until maybe you're 25, 27 years old, and ready for, just fill in the blank with whatever. But okay, hey, just because others at X age are doing it doesn't mean you're ready. And so that is again, I'm not even sure how to phrase the question, but it's how do we help the neurospicy to realize exactly where they are, who they are, but knowing we totally accept where you are.
I think it's coming in exactly as you are saying it, and just kind of creating that low pressure, kind of judgment-free spaces of, you know what, if you still have stuffed animals on your bed, okay, there's not a time that you have to get rid of stuffed animals. If you still like watching Disney movies, okay, so what? And I think it dances that fine line between the understanding that, yeah, they may not feel grown up nearly as quickly as we felt grown up when we were younger, but as long as they are still surviving, potentially even growing into thriving within life, it's not a big deal. They don't have to have a house with a picket fence and be married by 24. They don't have to have this career. They don't. I've had so many people come into this beautiful realization that they don't have to be a careerist. They can just have a job. They can just have a job that pays the bills. They don't want to become manager or CEO or anything within the C-suite. They just want to get paid so they can go do really fun arts and crafts on the side. And I think it's just coming in and reminding people that's okay. It's okay to work at a coffee shop and have roommates. There's nothing wrong with that. And more people these days are coming in and having roommates and splitting the bills because life is expensive. And I have seen the younger generation do better with coming in and accepting that. It's parents and older generations where they're like, oh, well, you live with other people? Well, you must be this or this or this. And so I'm actually going to say it's less of talking to the kids or to the young adults and more of to the older adults in their life and say, you're fine. They are doing just what they need to, but we are not going to enable them. It's like, oh, well, you can't work. You're going to live in our house forever when they can work, when they can do this. Yes, it might not be a career, but that doesn't mean they can't work. Okay, just because you don't drive doesn't mean that you can't get a job, doesn't mean you can't do this. You can learn to ride a bike, you can get a scooter, you can do all these things, and that's still a-okay.
Would it be fair to say that, and I want to stay away from stereotypes. In other words, you just graduated from high school, you're expected to go right into college. You're expected by age, whatever, to have a job and so forth, that we need to just be adaptive to those who are neurospicy. And nope, you may not be ready for a 40-hour-a-week job for the next X number of years, but hey, build up from 8 to 12 to 16 to whatever. And then as far as additional, let's say advanced education, well, we'll just wait and see if you really need that. I am not, well, I am an advocate of advanced education, but not everybody needs it. And so
Not everybody needs it. Not everybody.
Millions of kids with college debt and can't pay for it. And so these are the kind of things. So again, I know I'm rambling with just a very broad question, but is it a matter of, okay, we will help you adapt to and be ready whenever everything kind of fits? That is, working your way toward full-time employment, working your way toward advanced education, if that's really what you need.
I've seen a lot of people come in with doing more of the homeschooling. Funny enough, you were saying that earlier. And I would say not even neurodivergents being homeschooled, but kids in general there's higher numbers of homeschool than I think I've seen in other times, because public schools and some things that have happened in public schools are quite scary. And so parents are not wanting that. With the neurodivergence, it all depends on the kids. For my 15-year-old, he doesn't want to do college at all, but if he has a year off, that boy is going to do nothing. He is going to sit and play video games. He's going to do it. So he's already decided his pathway. He's either going to be a pharmacist, an English teacher, or he's going to join the military. And I'm like, okay, but there's also trade schools if there's anything that you like. And he's like, I want nothing to do with my hands. I want someone to tell me what to do. Okay. Military is a great option. And military now has started taking people with a diagnosis of ADHD, with a diagnosis of autism, and they're allowed to take Adderall, because the military has learned autism makes really great soldiers.
Yes.
For taking gap years, I think it's dependent on the kids. Some kids get really, and I'm calling 18-year-olds kids. Kids, in my mind, they're kids, even though they're adults.
Sure.
Some of these young adults, they're making it through high school was already like pulling teeth, and their anxiety is really high, or depression, or they're really just trying to find their space in the world. And I think taking a gap year or 2 or 3 is fine, as long as they are still doing something and the parents are still having them do something. It's like, okay, you can take a year off, but you have to have a job and you have to pay rent. You have to, and the rent could be $50 a week. It doesn't matter. It still builds into that responsibility. So that way they are learning that I still have to do grown-up things. I might not feel grown up, but if I didn't have the backing of my village, the world's mean. And it's harsh, and it's not great for people who only want to work 8 hours a week or 16 or 24. And so if they have the ability to have that village to say, yes, you can help. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you can step your way into this. I think that's beautiful and glorious. And you can help kind of find what you like versus going and getting $100,000 in college debt and then deciding that you want to go be a barista.
Yep.
Because those will not pay off.
No, exactly. Now, I want to advance the topic that maybe a gap year. Let's just use that term, that they've graduated from high school. It's not terribly relevant at this point, whether whatever. But it is a matter of nurturing, working with the Neurospicy to help them build up to. And what I'm leading up to is you can't spend money just endlessly today. You've got to be able to think ahead. And so, okay, if you're going to pay $50 a week, a month in rent, you do have to work some amount of time. And so you're helping the Neurospicy develop, I use the term executive functioning skills, that is think ahead. And so it's more than just today, my impulsiveness, we're helping them. And so that is a lot of backstory too. Will they necessarily need time, 10 years to age through this to develop that level of maturity? Is that kind of where we are?
Yes, exactly. And I think probably, I'm just going to continuously saying this, that every brain is different.
Yep.
And sometimes with that executive functioning, they can come in and they can hyper focus and they can learn and they find this special interest that they are just well into. I think you talked last time with your granddaughter, she's really into cooking and or baking, or just that component, which I think adds science and math and has all these fun, great things where you see your creations come in. And so, and with the pattern recognition and just finding your strengths and then building upon your strengths or finding their strengths and then saying, okay, you know what, you're really good at baking. Let's try to bake this. Let's do this. Let's see if there's a grocery store that has a bakery that has an opening. And talking to that grocery store and seeing, okay, where are they in working with people who are neurodivergent? What kind of accommodations could be needed? And it could be they don't necessarily interact with guests, but they can stay behind and do all the dishes.
Yep.
They can have these different things that they can work 4-hour shifts, but then they have an hour break, more than just a 15-minute break, because they need that time to refocus and recenter, or they only work 4 hours. Or we know certain days that are really busy that they get overwhelmed. That's not going to be something they can handle right now because the emotional depth and maturity might not necessarily be there.
Yep. Let me ask you, in the context that some Neurospicy people would say, I don't want to, it's too hard, it's whatever. But I think what I'm asking is, can we nurture them? I'm the kind of person, don't ever give up. Never, 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 never give up. But I want you to accept the challenge, but I don't want you to think it's so big that no, I just give up right away. And so I'm asking you for a technique to help the Neurospicy to say, yep, never give up. Just I never want you to give up. Just keep at it, persist, even though your attention span may be 20 minutes long. At least do something. And if I have the wrong approach, but please.
Oh no, I love where you're going. I'm thinking of my kids. They're like, I don't want to do this. I'm like, I know. I also don't want to do this, but here we are.
Yep.
There's quite a few times in life we have to do things we don't want to do, and that's okay. It's okay because we are not put on this earth only to do things that make us happy.
Yep.
That is not the collective human agreement of life, but for the feeling as though things are too big and it's like, okay, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start. I think of it as a steak. You don't come in and look at this steak dinner and think, I'm going to eat this in one bite. You think of that and you're like, oh, that's really overwhelming. I'm not going to start. So with the steak, if we can't do it in one bite, what do? We cut it into smaller pieces. We cut it down into chunks that are more manageable. So it's okay, I have this great big task. Let's cut it down. Let's make it not a great big task. What are some things that we could do to step it back? I have people who are there applying for food stamps. They're applying for school. They're applying for something and they get so stuck. I'm like, you know what? Let's just get your username and password. We don't need to do anything beyond that. And that's still a step forward because the whole task was too much. So we made it smaller. And sometimes even the username and password, that's too big of a task for them to feel as though they can do by themselves. And so that's where body doubling comes in with, I'm not going to do it for you, but I'm going to sit here with you while you do it. Because I know you can do this and I believe in you. And if you get stuck, if you struggle, ask questions. I got you. I know you don't want to do it. That's okay. I don't want to do a lot of things, but I still do it.
I want to ask you about your life, and I want to ask you to let our listeners know, at what point were you, what age were you that maybe you had your first thought, I'm going to pursue a doctoral degree, but I'm not now, it's too hard, or maybe whatever. Did you pursue your doctoral degree at, who knows, a later age than some whatever stereotypical
Definitely.
age? But then that everything just suited you.
Mhm.
And did you have to overcome this is too hard to do kind of thing?
I think so. I know I wanted to have a doctorate from probably 12 years old. I did not know what that took. I
Yep.
know it took me over 10 years to get my bachelor's degree, where most people can finish in 4. I didn't know it was ADHD and autism at the time. I thought I was just a perpetual student. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go to school for this. Oh, actually, this sounds good. Maybe I'll switch my major to this. Because everything just created that dopamine hit of starting a new pathway. And let me find something new and exciting. And it's chasing all the squirrels. And then you get to a point where the school says, we're not going to give you any more money. You need to go. And so it's like, okay, I will graduate. And then I went with a bachelor's in psychology. I very quickly learned you can do nothing. And so I needed to start my master's. And so I finished my bachelor's, I think, in June. And then I started my master's in November. And I think it took me maybe 3.5 years to get both my master's degrees, because by then I was a mom. I had a young kid. He was just a couple months old, and I could go to school online. I learned going to school online benefited me. It fit my brain. I could listen to the classes while my kiddo slept, while he was napping, or in the evenings. I didn't have to go into a brick and mortar class, which made it easier for the anxiety. I didn't have to look anybody in the eye. I didn't have to make fake social chit chat that I often, when I was younger, didn't understand the component of. I'm like, why would I talk to this person? I don't get it. I'm supposed to. And then after my master's, it still took me probably 7 or 8 years before I decided to come back for a doctorate. And getting my doctorate was not anything that was going to enhance my career. I still the same licensed professional counselor as I had as a master's degree, but I learned having a doctorate, I could advance my advocacy. I could be louder and get people to listen more because I have doctor in front of my name.
Okay.
But
Now,
it's a long time.
what I'm discerning from what you're saying, and certainly correct me if I'm not discerning correctly, you learned your learning style. You know the environment in which you best learn. You knew, or you became that, okay, online learning is my style. I function better outside the classroom in another environment. And so it appears you adapted to that. And yep. And so well, some stereotypical people might complete the curriculum in 2 years, but it's going to take me 10 years. But that's okay. That's me. That's who I am. Hey, I'll be 10 years at that. I don't care what you think. So I may be using some words and characterize some things that you don't think, but that's what I'm thinking.
I was really lucky at a young age. I didn't look at the people graduating and say, oh man, they're graduating and getting a job already. I wish I was doing that. I was like, oh, look, I have a new class. This one's on learning about international security studies. This one's learning about pottery, all kinds of just different things. And just at that time, I think I was more enveloped in my world of, I like going to school. This is fun. I've got friends here. They don't care that I'm weird. And it's funny because in the younger age, I did better going in person. But as I got older, I learned where I may have done better going in person. Now, I was not at that point in life. I put in more emphasis and caring for what I was learning when I got older. At 18, I was just doing what I was supposed to do, doing what society told me I had to do. And so I think that kind of what you were talking about earlier, that like may not have been at the mindset for going, but I went.
I wanted to ask you, you said your son would be on video games or all day long if you allowed it. How do you speak to the parent that is our audience that they're facing this? How do you stop that? Because it's not good for them to be on all the time. But as our granddaughter, she's creating. So here we are going, she's creating.
You know, I was actually thinking about this prior to coming in today, because screen times, I wanted to come in and say, no, we don't need screen times. No, we need to go outside and touch grass more and be part of the world. But truthfully, so many neurospicy brains do really well in an online world, because that offers us the control. We can control what we say, who we say it to. We can write out and delete and rewrite sentences. We can get on and talk with our friends. We could get on video or not. We can just do text-based. We can gain a level of friendship that is so incredibly authentic online that we might not necessarily make in person. And that's where the difference between pushing for neurotypicals and neurodivergents, with kind of the screen time being on. Screens offer a structured level of repeated inputs. We could watch the same TV show over and over and over and over, and we know who's going to come on next. We know what they're going to say. It takes away all levels of anxiety, because we know it comes in with predictability. Going out into things in the real world, out in public, that it's unpredictable. And so that can cause higher levels of anxiety. But I think there's some importance to creating that levels of higher anxiety. And I don't want to do this. I know I don't want to go out and talk to a bunch of people either. But we don't get to just live in our room. We don't get to just live in our home. We have to go out and interact with the world at some point in time. And so it's beneficial to go out and learn how to have it's called pragmatic speech, of the hi, how are you? I'm good. And just the talking back and forth. Even if we're not good at it, knowing how to have a conversation, knowing how to order groceries, how to order in a restaurant, how to talk and say please and thank you. And it's that validation of, I know you're anxious. We can be anxious and do it anyway. I know you're scared. We can be scared and do it anyway. It's, for me, clinically, I would call it exposure therapy, and do the things that make you uncomfortable in smaller amounts, like in a steak, in smaller bites that we can handle, until it becomes mundane, until it takes away that anxiety. And we step it up from there. But also, I don't necessarily know that I see anything wrong with being on a computer, with playing the video games, because they're still interacting socially with people. For younger kids, it's very much for the parents to identify, who are you talking to? Where are these games? Because with neurospicy brains, we have a higher level of getting connected to people with predatory behavior, because we are more immature. So we don't necessarily see where people are coming in with the grooming, with the predatory things. We're just like, oh, okay, this person's really nice. Yes, here's my address. Here's my birthday. Yeah, mom's already asleep. It's like, okay. So it's double-handed, double-sided, and it's good to be able to utilize the internet and to connect with people that way, but still, especially for the younger ones, parents being an active part and monitoring what all they're doing.
And you're talking you're right where a lot of people are. That yes, what we want for you to, in our granddaughter, I would describe as a level 1, and she can be extremely, so I mean, she can talk to everybody everywhere she is, and oh, I like what you're, and so forth and so on. But then when she is on the computer, and I appreciate what you're saying, yeah, neurospicy people like to have control. However, and here's the however part, and we want to try to balance this. However, there are people with nefarious intent. There are the predators out there. I'm not convinced you have the maturity, the ability yet to think ahead because everybody can be a friend. Well, some people want to take advantage of you. They're going to try to determine your vulnerabilities and so
Yep.
forth. Doctor, all of that is backstory to, gosh, I want to give you the freedom you want, but I know that there are people out there who will try to take advantage of that. Therefore, golly, I don't want you to feel like we're monitoring you and controlling you and putting parental controls on you and putting you in the box. However, so I'm describing a dilemma that some of us feel, and wow, how do we work through this?
With structure and communication. And it comes into age appropriate. Okay, you are this age, computer goes off at this time per night. It can go off at this time on weekends. There's still things like chores that need to get done within the house. There's still things that show that you can do your own laundry. You can do this. You can do this. You are learning how to human while still hanging out with your friends. But start having those conversations with, okay, people are going to ask you to show them your face, to send pictures, to do this. If they send you pictures of body parts, you immediately let me know. Because being under 18, and I tell this to my kids, being under 18, if their friends or someone sends them nudie pictures, they are holding child porn. So not even the ones who send it, the ones who receive it, they can get in trouble for holding on to that. And so it's if people send pictures, you let me know because this isn't appropriate. And then you have to get more, because autism brains are very, very literal. And you talk to them directly. And that, if people send you private parts, people send this, that's inappropriate. You don't send this to anyone. And here's why. This is not an appropriate thing. And then it starts from a younger age, and then your vocabulary can get more defined as they get older, to even when they are 18 or over. It's okay, this person might be telling you all the right things. They might say all the pretty words. You might feel like you're in love with them. Okay, you don't need to pack up and move to Maryland. You don't have to move over to New Zealand. Let's take this time and take it slow. Get to know this person, because we don't know if this person is an 85-year-old grandma, is a 14-year-old boy. We don't know. And so I keep that line of communication open okay, for my 15-year-old, I'm like, you don't show anything. You don't, and my 12-year-old, same thing. You don't do anything that's inappropriate. You don't know if this person is 35. You don't know if they're 7. If this 7-year-old is pretending to be 18 and you send them pictures, you've now sent this 7-year-old. And their parents can see that and say, oh, you are grooming my kid. And so it's speaking about the dangers of the internet and of predators, and how, because neurospicy brains, we are desperate for connection, but we don't always know what connection looks like. That is really, it can make us a very vulnerable population for people coming in and kind of snaking their way in with, oh, but you keep telling me I'm pretty, but you keep telling me all the nice things. I don't want to go anywhere or talk to anybody or get dressed or anything. I just want to sit on my computer and only talk to you. Like, I get that. However, like structure and communications, like it's off at this time, it's this at this time. When you hit 18, it can look different. Like now we start talking about relationships and what that looks like. And if they start telling you things and what might be too much to share. And because since I'm not neurotypical, I can't come in and say neurotypical dating is easy, but neurospicy dating is hard. You don't know. You don't know what they mean, because a lot of people say, especially in Texas, we say one thing, but there's an underlying subtext that I will miss almost all the time because it's just the Southern niceness. And so it just sounds like they're saying something nice. I'm just going to take it as something nice, but there might be something a little bit more nefarious put underneath that I've totally missed.
Doctor, I'm going to ask you if you would consent to, here we are recording again. Would you consent to a third episode where we discuss just this? I'm going to put it into context. I trust you, but yet I trust and verify. And is it really appropriate to look at the internet search history and so forth, because the neurospicy people, some are going to say, you don't trust me. And so we say, well, yes, we do, and so it's a trust but verify kind of thing. We do want to help nurture you. We don't want you to be in danger of, but maybe sometimes you just need to experience to learn. Doctor, I want to use that as kind of a big backdrop. Would you consider coming back onto a third episode to help us learn this better?
I absolutely would.
I tell you what, let's bring this in for a landing. And for our third episode, we're going to discuss with you how can we best help people develop the executive functioning skills, knowing that, okay, you may be chronologically one age, but your maturity is behind that. And so we want to demonstrate that we trust you, but yet it's a matter of us as caretakers and so forth, helping nurture you. Dr. Kristen, we love talking with you. You've got great wisdom. We look forward to a third episode with you to learn more.
Thank you so much. I will see you then.
We'll see you in just a little bit.
We appreciate having the opportunity to share our and our guests' life experiences with you.
The Cooper culture advances organizations to achieve and sustain high retention rates, connected communication, and trust through personality insights and principled leadership. You can contact us at our website, thecooperculture.com, and you can contact us directly at ron@thecooperculture.com or Marty, MARTY, at thecooperculture.com. We work with you to help assess aspects of your culture to advance the environment and people to their best performance. We do that through our staff of certified personal performance coaches, leadership trainers, keynote speakers, and disc personality behavior experts. You can book a speaking engagement directly through our website by contacting us at ron@thecooperculture.com. We look forward to sharing our life experiences with you, some of which are profound, some of which are pretty funny. Some of those life experiences are ones we'll never do that again because we've been through stuff. We truly look forward to working with you, speaking with you, helping advance you in any way that we can.